Hi, I'm Charlie Stewart-Brown, founder of Indiv Yoga and the voice of the British Airways onboard Yoga and Mindfulness Program. And today I'm going to guide you through a New Year's meditation reflection exercise. We're going to be closing the past year and opening up to greater happiness and calm for the following year with this inquiry meditation. So you're going to need at least 2 pieces of paper and a pen for this exercise. And I'm going to be guiding you through this and giving you about a minute to be reflecting on each of the points today, but you may need to pause the video to write a bit more or to reflect for a little bit longer. So I'd like to start with exactly where you are in this moment, just closing your eyes, listening out for all the sounds around you and trying to identify the very lowest sound that you can hear. Lovely. And now that we've done that calming and centering exercise, let's just check in with our seated position. Make sure that we're nice and comfortable in the chair that we're seated on. Our feet are grounded into the floor. The spine is nice and straight, but most of all, we're comfortable, perhaps placing some cushions behind you or underneath. And let's find some calm in the breath. Feel free to close your eyes as we just center ourselves on our natural breath, not trying to put any effort necessarily into any deep breathing unless you feel like doing so. And remembering for this meditation, as always, it is completely normal to get distracted. So we want to remember that we'll get distracted by thoughts that are going to come into the mind, sounds around us perhaps. All we need to do in the practice of meditation is simply becoming aware that we've gotten distracted by sounds, thoughts, perhaps sensations in the body, emotions. Just acknowledge that and keep bringing our awareness back to this reflection meditation. So we're going to start by reflecting on this past year, and we're going to think about 3 negative things that have happened to you in this past year. Not external events relating to things like politics, for instance, but negative events that have happened to you. And once you've thought of these 3 things and reflected on them, again, feel free to pause the video if necessary to give yourself a bit longer. I'd then like you to write down what these 3 negative events or things that have happened to you in this past year. Write them down on paper number 1. Okay, again, feel free to pause the video if you need a little bit more time, or if you finish any of the exercises before I start up again, then please do take that time, not to allow the mind to wander off, but to just keep reflecting on the previous point. So we're now going to take hold of our second piece of paper. We're going to call this paper number 2. And we're now going to reflect on the lessons that you learned from each of these 3 negative events. So reflecting on something that you learned from each of them. And then writing them down on paper number 2. And coming back to paper number 1, we're now going to reflect on 3 negative people from this past year. It can be people that have come into your life in this past year, or perhaps people that you knew before, but that you've had negative experiences with. And we're going to write down the names of these 3 people on paper number 1. Okay, bringing our awareness back to paper number 2. And I'd like you to reflect on and write down 3 lessons that you have learned from your interactions with these 3 people. Okay, let's stick with paper number 2 and let's reflect on 3 positive events or 3 positive things that happened to you in this past year and write them down on paper number 2. And sticking with paper number 2, taking some time now to reflect on 3 positive people from this last year. And they can be 3 new people that you met in this last year that you had positive experiences with, or 3 people that you already knew that you had some positive experiences with in this last year. And having written down the names now of these 3 people, taking some time to reflect on what you learned from these positive experiences with these 3 people. So on paper number 2, now writing down any lessons, anything that you feel that you learnt, that you can take away yourself from these positive encounters with these positive people. And sticking now with paper number 2, I'd like you to think about 3 big things that you're grateful for from this past year. So they can be people, aspects of yourself, external or material things, like maybe you bought a new car, a new pair of shoes, something work related, something that you're grateful for, like a holiday that you went on, a big realization. And then I'd like you to write down 3 small things that you're grateful for. So they can be as small as your morning coffee, a new pillow that helps you sleep better, a song that you discovered this year, something or someone that made you smile. I'd like you to take a moment just to reflect on the 3 big things and 3 small things that you're grateful for from this past year, and then write them down on paper number 2. Okay, sticking with paper number 2, I'd like you to write down 3 things that you would like to do less of this following year. And we're going to be sticking with paper number 2 now for the last 3 points. So I'd like you to write down 3 things that you would like to feel less of this coming year. And now I'd like you to write down 3 things that you would like to do more of next year, and perhaps taking a little page out of my top here, if you can see, do more of what makes you happy. And having written down 3 things that you would like to do more of this coming year, finishing off with writing down 3 things that you would like to feel more of this following year. So we've done 3 things that you'd like to feel less of, 3 things that you'd like to do less of, 3 things that you'd like to do more of, and 3 things that you'd like to feel more of. Now I'd like you to scrunch up paper number 1, scrunch it up into a ball, not a tight ball, just scrunch the piece of paper up and put it to the side. And now I'd like you to put your hand on top of paper number 2 on the table in front of you, and just close your eyes and remind yourself of all these positive things that you've written down, the positive events, things that happened in this last year, the people, and all the things that you're grateful for, big and small. Just take a little moment to take those in for the last time, perhaps even with a little smile on your face. Now take a moment to reread the last 4 points on the piece of paper, the 3 things that you'd like to do and feel less of this coming year, and the 3 things that you'd like to do and feel more of in this coming year. And repeat each of them to yourself 3 times. And now I'd like you to take a moment to reflect on how you can realistically and practically put these into practice. What would it look like? And consider the occasions in daily life where you can actively implement these things that you would like to do and feel more or less of in this coming year. Really imagine yourself implementing these characteristics. When and where and with whom. My suggestion for your scrunched up paper number 1 is to safely burn it outside somewhere and take a moment to consciously and symbolically let it all go. You can choose to send out compassion to the negative people from this past year, or you can simply choose to put all of the negativity of the past year behind you and choose to forget it all and no longer dwell on them as you watch the piece of paper burn. To end, I'd like to encourage you to rewrite the last 4 points on paper number 2 at the front of next year's journal, diary or notebook, or perhaps on a piece of paper, and stick it on your bathroom mirror, maybe the inside of your cupboard door, or wherever you can look at it every day. You can keep them on your phone as a reminder to help you come back to them and commit to trying to put them into practice as much as possible. Now, realistically, we're going to have crappy days this year. Negative things are going to happen and we're going to encounter negative people. That's all inevitable and usually out of our control. But what's not inevitable is how you choose to handle these situations and people. The strength and calm you use to deal with them is in your control. And that's the bit that you have to focus on. In each of those crappy moments, take a slow, deep breath and decide who you want to be in that moment. Please share this video with anyone else that you think may benefit from it or enjoy this reflection exercise. I wish you a peaceful, happy and healthy year ahead. Namaste.